a Chat with Pat.
We are, yes, indeed.
All right, and our guest today is Francis Maier. He's a senior fellow in Catholic Studies at the Ethics and Public Policy Center in Washington, D.C. You have heard him on our show before. He is just a wonderful guy, and he's here to talk to us about the new encyclical. Good morning, Francis. How you doing this morning?
Doing very well, and I'd like to record your endorsement because I'd like to play it to all my friends as soon as
Okay. I can even go on longer, but this is a short interview, so I want to get right to it, Francis. So I want you to jump in and tell us, in the sense of when you read this document, this new encyclical, what spoke to you? What did you think, boy, this needed to be said?
Well, first of all, it's written extremely well.
Yeah.
It's rooted in another document from about a year earlier, Antiqua et Nova, which also was rare for a Vatican document in the sense that it was actually readable by normal people. And the encyclical in general, I think, is really a wonderful summation of Catholic social doctrine and its application to these new technologies. That's what's so striking about it.
One of the things that I was quite impressed with, because so often we talk about, well, this stuff isn't good or bad in and of itself, but he made a point, I think, of saying, yeah, it's not evil, but it's not neutral either. And I found that quite enlightening. How did you take that whole thing?
Well, look, I mean, I think the strongest element in the entire document is something that tracks back to 2015, the 2015 Synod. I remember working for Archbishop Chaput at that point. I was in Rome, staffing him, and he was asked what the next Synod should focus on. And he suggested Psalm 8, the whole point of who is man. And, of course, the next Synod didn't do that, but that issue rooted in Psalm 8 informs the entire approach of the encyclical. It's, I think what Leo does there in such an absolutely terrific way is answer that fundamental question in light of these new technologies that seem to be perceived by a lot of people as being on the brink of a new kind of independent consciousness. And I think the encyclical reminds us that there's a particular dignity to being human, that we don't worship our tools, although they're very valuable, but they can also overwhelm us and take away our humanity. And so for me, reading the encyclical, it was just a strong reaffirmation of who the human being is, what is our purpose in this world, and we need to look at tools as useful but not independent consciousness that takes away our own.
Yeah. And I never heard the phrase, and maybe, I probably don't read as many documents as you do, Francis, but the technocratic paradigm. When I read that, I thought, oh yeah, I that whole idea of everything's about efficiency and profit. And boy, it certainly seems that is at the heart of so much, and we don't think about how that affects how we view the human person, do we? I mean, that seems to be a real sticking point for us.
Well, I mean, again, I think it's useful to go back to the whole point of who was Jesus. I mean, one of the things that Jesus was trained to be, I mean, we use the word carpenter, but the Greek word would be tekton. He used tools to create new things, but he's not just a simply divine creature. He's the personification of what humanity should be. So, again, to go back to the heart of the encyclical is, tools are useful,
right?
But fools with tools are still fools, and we're not supposed to be fools. We're supposed to be human beings, creatures of God, who steward the world through the use of our tools and our intelligence, but we don't confuse them with being little idols. And I keep repeating myself, I suppose, but one of the things that struck me about the encyclical was its emphasis on the development of the social doctrine of the Church, serving the humanity of the creatures that we are, and I find that very powerful.
Do you think that some people are critiquing it, obviously. The question of how do we balance personal responsibility, right, which I am very big on, with the whole idea of always setting policies, like governmental policies in these areas. How do you see that come through in this document, that balance?
Well, yeah, I think by stressing the importance of personal responsibility, it translates logically into broader policy responsibility. And I'll explain that just very simply by we have to be thinking animals. And a tool like Claude or Gemini, which are wonderful, wonderful tools, and I use them all the time, but they can easily become an excuse to be lazy and to stop thinking. And when we do that, it translates into having very stupid thoughts about how, cultures and governments are run. And that leads to a really bad place.
Yeah. And I think one of the things so often with all of this technology is sometimes we lose sight of that we are still a sinful people. And so we are always tempted to use things in ways that aren't appropriate, right? And also to cut corners.
I think that's one of the main sins of our current culture, is the assumption that somehow technology is going to be capable of delivering us from our fundamental nature and perfecting us. And that's just not going to happen in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Francis. I think that this has always kind of been an underlying theme, I think, in all of this, that if you do this, then life will just be wonderful. You won't have any of these problems anymore, and usually it just opens more problems somewhere down the road.
Basically, you just described the experience of the last 400 years of the Enlightenment.
That's very true.
Yeah. We're still the same creatures.
Yes. Yes, and boy, we just can't get that through our heads, can we? We still are the same creatures, and we need a savior.
No, we don't want to.
Yeah, that's true. Francis, it is always so good talking with you. You are so enlightening. Thank you so much for being on the show today, and have a great week
ahead. It's my pleasure.
All right,
You
bye-bye.
too. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.